Lisa Griffis of Rescue Your Photos will be showing us how to downsize, preserve, and share your favorite photographs with loved ones. Lisa started Rescue Your Photos to combine her love of photography and design with her passion for helping others preserve their visual legacies. She earned her master's degree in visual communications from Ohio University and worked at newspapers and magazines as a photo editor and graphic designer for over 30 years. She offers a free 20-minute consultation to discuss your project, so you can give her a call. She'll have her number for you if you need that. Lisa, you could take over.
Okay, let's make sure I get set up. Okay. So good evening, and thank you for this lovely invitation. Does the task of organizing your photos make you feel overwhelmed? Has downsizing your photo mess been on your to-do list for far too long? I hope this evening I can help you come up with a game plan to tackle your mountain of photos. My first and ongoing organizing project has been editing down over 60 tubs of media compiled by 6 generations of my family. My family, I can trace them back to 1802 down by Lebanon. They were farmers, or started to be farmers. Funny story is that he started growing, he became a vineyard, and he started drinking too much, and my great-great-great-grandmother divorced him in 1814. So there's my story. As a family photographer, I became the dumping ground for photos when a relative died. Believe me, they sat in boxes for far longer than I would have liked, but when my parents' health became an issue, I knew I wanted to get their input on who was who and as many photos as possible. How did we get here on Photo Mountain? So don't feel so bad if you feel overwhelmed, you're not alone. Here are a few facts that contribute to this dilemma. In 2019, 1.4 trillion photos were taken.
Lisa, we're still seeing your first image. Is that what you want us to see?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. As far as these, 85% of the photos were taken on smartphones, while only 10% were taken on cameras. There are over 1.7 trillion paper photos stored in albums, attics, and shoeboxes. And less than 1% of printed memories have been transferred to digital, a much more durable and reliable format. The remaining 99% are still at risk of being lost due to neglect. The average person has 10,000 to 15,000 photos, and every 2 minutes we snap as many photos as the whole of humanity took in the 1800s. Give yourself a pat on the back if you started organizing your photos. You will have recognized that your photos are important enough for you to preserve them. Most household belongings and vehicles that your photos are important enough for you to preserve them. Most households, and vehicles are protected from loss. Ironically, though, the average family invests very little time or money to ensure the safety of their family photo collection, even though most agree that their photos are priceless and irreplaceable. There is a bonus too for downside for doing your photo organizing. It's also an exercise in downsizing. Piles of loose photos, boxes, envelopes, and bins take up more room than needed. Why should you digitize your photos and video collection? It's a good idea to digitize your older photos and home movies because viewing them will only get more difficult because technology is constantly changing and many types of media degrade over time. Do you have a projector to view your slides? Do you have a VHS player to play your tapes? Digital backups of photos and home movies are also important in case of a natural disaster or fire. If your photos or video are backed up in the cloud or off-site, your memories will survive even a catastrophe. So let's go over the 7 steps on how to tackle Photo Mountain. Oh, there we go. Step 1, set your goals and make a plan. Here are a few suggestions to consider before you start. Determine how you plan to organize your project. A good exercise is to close your eyes and imagine what a filing cabinet drawer would look like if your photos were filed such as chronologically, holiday, or by family members. Understand who's who in your family. Like, how many uncles and aunts do you have, and on which side of your family are they from? When I've been working on mine right now, I found my 4 times great grandmother inside one of the boxes. Why, when, and where did you and your family take pictures? At holidays, vacations, or weddings? Collect a few identifying photographs to use as for reference and write down key dates in your life. And if you're lucky enough to have a family tree, use it for reference. It'll come in handy. Determine what your project will consist of. Just digital images or prints that are sorted, scanned to digital, and then archivally stored. Designate a workplace for this project. This preferably should be in an area that you can set up and continue to work in without needing to pack it up partway through the project. For print collections, gather up items you think you will need. Here are a few suggestions: notebooks, pens, sticky notes, blank index cards, magnifying glass, small containers like shoe boxes, Ziploc bags, and a trash can. This pen right here, it's a Zig photo signature. I purchased it off of Amazon for less than $8. It writes on the backs of photographs and is archival, and it's come in very handy. I gotta say, I've been using my magnifying glass quite a bit these days. And dental floss comes in very handy to try to get those glued albums. You know, those photo albums that had the glue on them that are falling apart now. Unwaxed dental floss, if you take it behind it and wiggle it a little bit, you're able to get it to loosen up and come off the page. And if your fingers have quite a bit of oil on them, white gloves aren't a bad thing, or the gloves we have when we go out these days work fine as well. Determine how you want to permanently store your prints. But before you buy photo storage boxes, you should edit down your project so you know how much you have and how much you'll need to store them. Archival Methods and archivalmethods.com is a good company that sells a lot of archival material, and Amazon sells archival Pioneer photo storage boxes, which are much like a shoe box, and they're about $10. As a rule of thumb, an average shoebox holds typically about 600 4x6 prints, 900 maximum if the large foot, if you've got large feet. 70 to 80 photos approximately equal an inch. 20 slides equals about an inch, and 25 Polaroids equals an inch. You need to ask yourself too, how will you digitally back up your work? Cloud storage or external hard drives? How will you and then figure out how you'll make time to do this. Set your intentions now and stick to them. It takes a few weeks or months, in my case, several years, to get this done, but don't get discouraged. Give yourself an end date to help you stick on track. Oops, sorry. Okay, step 2. Are we still good with everything, people? Spike, are we good?
Yes, we're good.
Okay,
We're good.
thank you.
We're
Okay.
good.
Step 2, gather up your print and digital photos. It's important to have everything you want to work in one central location. This goes for digital photos as well as printed, but especially for the printed photos. It gives you time to think about all the places that you can find your photos and move them to your sorting area. If you're really going to downsize, you need to know everything that you've got. I thought I had all the photos from my parents' house, but they both passed away last year. And I ended up with another carload full of photos coming my way. I thought we had all of them, but print photos to consider: photo albums, scrapbooks, photo boxes, shoe boxes, frame prints, plastic bins, miscellaneous drawers and cabinets, closets, items from other relatives that you want to be included in the project. Digitally, USB drives, external hard drives, mobile phones, current and old, desktop computers, new and old, laptop computers, again, current and old, tablets, camera cards. And also make sure you look on your computers on the desktop, picture folders, download folders, and email attachments. Old media, are there DVDs, CDs, movies, slides, negatives, floppy disk? My dad had 3 boxes of plastic diskettes. So I bought a diskette reader off of Amazon, only to realize that a diskette only holds 7 to 10 very low resolution photos. Plus, I wasn't able to get half of them to open. But according to Pinterest, I can take the diskettes and make pencil holders out of them for the future. But step 3, sort and edit. The first rule is don't spend time organizing things you don't want, don't need, and don't use. Give yourself permission to downsize. I think that's the biggest. Besides, a lot of people are very overwhelmed with this project in general. For some reason, they don't want to throw away photos, but if they're bad, they're bad. Don't be surprised if you're able to reduce the number of photos by 80%. I find this was really helpful. Dedicated trash can to the project. And if you regret pitching a photo, you always can go back and dig it out. These suggestions can be used for digital as well as print images. It is very important that after you finish compiling your digital photos, back them up on an external hard drive before you start to edit them, because you don't want them to be deleted with no backup on them. Here is the ABC sorting methods. A is for photos that you give an A. These are the pictures that are the most important to you. They should be scanned and then stored in archival containers. B, photos worthy of putting in a box. These are the photos that you would rather not pitch because they mean a little something to you, but they may not be the best quality. C are the photos to toss in a can. Hint, duplicate photos can be passed on to other family members if you don't want to keep them. And S is for photos that tell a story. These are the photos that have meaning to you, even if they're poor quality. This is, remnants of the duplicate. They were nice for double takes, were good for marketing tool, but they often contributed to the excess bulk in some collections. I didn't realize I sent my mom all my duplicates and they all came back in that last trip from their house. So I had, I got my duplicates back. It was on me. When sorting your photo mess, I made piles of duplicate photos of my niece and nephews and then put them in an archival case by Art Bin that I got off of Amazon, and it made a nice present for them the next time I saw them. So I just put the duplicates in here, so they kind of had their own little photo box, and they all appreciated it. Editing is part of your photo organizing process. Editing means going through your photo collection and narrowing it down to the best images you want to keep. Without a doubt, editing is mentally and emotionally a challenging task. We all have a hard time pushing the delete button when it comes to memories. Don't try tackling this process in long sessions. It's best broken up in a few hours at a time. Does anybody have any questions before we go on?
Lisa's, are Sharpies bad for like pens?
Yes. Ew, no. They're good for labeling boxes, but they're very acidic.
Okay.
There's surprisingly very little, things you can write on the back of a photo. I mean, if you want to write on the back of a photo, expect to see it bleeding through in a year.
We have a question.
Okay.
Yeah, well, more of a comment. I think there's software that can collect all the image files on your computer and put them so that you don't miss anything. You don't have to look yourself. You can actually get help by software.
Yes. What are you, PC or are you Mac?
PC.
What are you using for that?
I can't remember, but I remember I used an album software, something like Photo Essentials or something like that, Photo Elements, a long time ago. And the first thing that it did was to collect all the image files and list them, so I knew where they were, and I could drag them into a common place.
A common filter. Okay, folder then. Okay. Does anybody have anything else? Go on. Okay. Step 4, organize and label. After you've edited your photos, you are left with a core collection and you are now ready to organize those items. Find a system that works for you, not a system that works for others. Every system needs to be customized to the person using it. Suggestion, organize file structure by theme or by person, and then put them in chronological order. In my particular case, I went by the person and then tried to do it as chronologically as I can. I'm not, their 5th birthday may be ahead of their 4th birthday, but it's pretty close. Consistently label your sorting boxes and your digital folders. You will make changes, but keep the core framework. Live with the structure for a few weeks, and if it needs tweaking, make the adjustments and make the system work for you. These are some basic principles of just organizing in general, but it works really well for photos. Why start with your digital photos? You're more likely to lose your digital photos in a tech crash than your printed memories in a house fire or a natural disaster. Is that correct, Spike? It's no secret that hard drives fail, phones are stolen every day, computers shut down, never to be powered up again. In other words, your device is most likely the culprit when it comes to lost memories, not a natural disaster. You've probably taken more pictures in the past few years on your smartphone than you have other cameras in the past few decades combined. This is how I structured my family photos. I realized that I wanted to, obviously Griffis is my surname, but I was also my mother's maiden name was Lay. So I went back and figured out how far back I can go with each one, and then put their birth dates in front of them, and then use that as a way to make some logical sense as far as the order. Organize your digital photos. Collect in a central computer location the images from all your computers, camera cards, phones, and hard drives. You may find it helpful to work in stages, one device at a time. Create a holding tank for your digital photos in the folder structure of your digital photo hub. Your to be organized folder is your dumping ground for your images you bring in from other devices. For organizing your print, I use sticky notes to label temporary containers and bags. I sorted the first time. The rough sort by taking the photos out of the envelopes and the albums and the boxes, and keep these photos together because they give you a hint as to who took them, what part of the family is involved, and then they might have been taken. I use Ziploc bags because I knew I wasn't going to be keeping them in there for too long. And I had so many different categories that I just wanted something to keep them together before so when I started to scan them, they made sense as the order of them. This step alone is going to greatly reduce the bulk of your collection. And we talked about the sticky page albums. Sort 2. Now is the time to really edit down your images. Is everybody familiar with the Ohio method? Only handle it once. Apply this to each photo and sort it by the ABCs. Be ruthless. If you don't want it, put it in the trash can. If scanning your project, group photos to be scanned in a container or bag with index cards. If there are large prints that are to be included in your grouping, add a colored index card for cross-reference. If not scanning, you can go ahead and start putting the pictures in their final resting container. If you're going to include memorabilia with your collection, set it aside and put an index card on it as to where it would fit in the collection. Here's a tip. Several of the Cuyahoga County libraries, like Westlake and South Euclid libraries, have conversion equipment that you can use. Or contact me on how best to help scan your photos. Step 5, why backup? Again, hard drives fail. External hard drives have a 4 to 6 years shelf life and should be checked regularly for performance, much like your smoke detectors. CDs have an average lifespan of 2 to 10 years, and most are becoming obsolete, and most new computers don't even have built-in readers. Spike can speak on this one. 1 in 10 computers are infected with viruses every month, and 30% of all people have never backed up their data.
I'm a nag for backup, and I don't like it when the clients start crying. So I try to nag them for that. And I actually have a pyramid. I can show you a picture. I had made a huge pyramid of dead hard drives. It looked like something you could from Egypt, actually. It was pretty high.
Right. Digital images must be backed up with every new addition to your library. So every time you find a CD or a DVD that you read and dump the photos in, back that hard drive up. It's also vital to have an offset copy, which can be a cloud service or an external hard drive that is updated frequently. Right now, I'm using I'm using Backblaze as my cloud storage, and I have Time Machine, and I also have another external hard drive that I back things up with and keep it in my basement. But so basically, there's a 3-2-1 backup rule. It's simple and it was stood the test of time for protecting digital assets from man-made and natural disasters. The 3-2-1 backup rule is 3 copies. Keep 3 copies of any important file. These can be on your computer, an external hard drive, or in a cloud storage option. Many photo collections are too large to fit in within computer storage nowadays, so the main storage for digital photos becomes an external hard drive. 2 backups. Keep the files on 2 different media types. When you store your originals on one device and a copy on a second device, You will have immediate access to a backup if one of those devices fails. When your computer crashes or your external hard drive fails, and they will, your files can be restored from the other device. Storing these devices locally means you have full control and access at all times. If you choose an external hard drive for your main protection, put a purchase date on it so you know how old it is. Hard drives should be made by different manufacturers in case of recalls. Excuse me. One offsite storage. Keep one copy stored offsite. This option could be an external hard drive stored out of your home or office. If you use a cloud-based service, invest some time into research and be mindful of the rights that you may be signing away. I used to keep a hard drive, an extra hard drive, and I would back up my computer. And then about every 6 months, I would go out to my brother's business, take the other one out of his safe and put another one back in it. So I have since learned to trust cloud storage, but backup strategies, backup as you go. One bad crash will teach you that lesson. Once a month, do a manual photo backup if you are using an external hard drive as your third copy. Choose a cloud-based storage that should be automated when you set it up. Tips for buying hard drives: don't buy them at the same time, because if there is a recall on them, they're both going to be bad. 2 terabyte capacity works well for photo storage. They usually have about a 4 to 6 year shelf life. And label device when you purchase it and keep track of when you back up the device. Some tips for cloud-based storage: size, accessibility, recovery, and rights should be considered. Research what rights you may be signing away. When choosing a cloud service, ask about privacy, protecting your information, photo ownership, data stripping, removing your metadata, data mining, sharing your personal information with advertising purposes, and how you can retrieve your images if you decide to not use the service anymore. Some services actually make you pay to download your images, so do your research. Look for providers who offer free trials and run a test with a small group, so you can examine the complete, before you commit to it. Buying a bigger hard drive will ensure that you have enough space for everything in one spot. The same thing goes to, especially if you're going to be adding home movies and other devices. And if you're scanning, it depends on if you're more of an amateur-based photographer, you'll definitely want to try to use a JPEG for your format, because it does compress it a little bit, and you're going to be able to fit a lot more JPEGs on a hard drive than you can a TIFF. TIFFs are not compressed and therefore are higher quality, but they take up a lot of storage. Excuse me. That is not wine, it's just water.
Lisa, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
The codec that you're using, do you know if that's good for PC and Mac?
It is, but I'll tell you, they stopped making it a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
And unfortunately, I have been told through the professional photo managers that I'm a member of and certified by, that trying to buy scanners right now are nearly impossible.
Wow.
It's one of those COVID,
projects that everybody's doing, right?
well, or they bought the equipment and sitting there and they're not doing it, but which is more likely what's happened. But
talking about scanning, I can tell you about a slide scanner that we bought. Do you want me to tell you about that now or later?
Is that the Epson or?
No, this is one I bought from Hammacher Schlemmer.
Okay.
It's fantastic. It's really cute. It's has a screen on it, and you can feed multiple slides in one after another and just decide whether you want to keep them or delete them.
Oh, good.
And my mom already went through a couple thousand, and now Arnie's going through a couple thousand.
5 and 6.
Yeah, tons. It's a great, great piece of equipment. So, okay.
We've also got some littler ones on Amazon for about 125, but I haven't tried purchasing it, so I don't know if it's available or not. Okay, step 6, adjust and archive. Give your system a new trial. Give it your new system a trial run. Sorry. What worked, what didn't work, what you like, what you don't like. You know, you need solid answers, so be sure that you try the system for at least 2 to 3 weeks before you evaluate it. If you find yourself not liking it, it's most likely because you created a system that corresponds with your ideal life rather than your real life. And the best storage systems are modular and adjustable to ensure maximum efficiency for now and into the future. My project and a couple of the other bigger projects I've worked on, I think one of the things I spent the most time on initially was the filing system, because I wanted to make sure that it made sense and that it was going to stand that, and that other people could do it, could use it. Because you don't want to create a system that you're the only one that knows what's written in, you know, the mystery ink. The best storage systems are modular and adjustable to ensure maximum efficiency for now and in the future. And then put your printed photos in their final resting home. These are the boxes. These are those Pioneer boxes I told you about from Amazon. I like them because you also can put, you know, I bought some cotton twine to tie them up just because I'm a klutz and I drop stuff and I didn't want to drop this stuff. So only use the boxes labeled the acid neutral, ligand free, buffered, or archival, like the Pioneer boxes from Amazon are archival. Also, the Container Store over at Beechwood also has good ones as well.
So Lisa, when you first started this project, were you not planning on digitizing everything?
Well, at the very end, I'll show you why I started this project.
Okay. Okay.
And then finalize your plan for your digital photos, implement your 1, 2, 3 storage and backup system, and start implementing your storage, your cloud storage. Free isn't always best, and you pay for the permanent storage, but it's worth it. I use a company called forever.com for my photo storage, and you can share photos with friends and family. You actually can pass it along. You actually buy the storage. So think of it as like a U-Haul storage place, you know, a storage place that you just drive up to. You own that unit between now and the next 100 years, and you can pass that down to the next generations. Like I've got to redo my will in the next year or so, and I'm going to pass on the Forever account to my nephew so that he has it for the next generation. There's also companies called SmugMug that are worth it taking a look at too. And like I said before, I use Backblaze for my full computer backup. I didn't want to have to call Spike one day and cry that everything was gone. Google and other free online storage options can condense and compress your images, and they retain the rights to your photos. So beware. So if you're using Google right now, for example, to store your photos, you can see a bus going down the street with your photo on it, because if you use their free storage, they have rights to the photo. I don't think they do it very often, but they do. Plus, and I'm sure Spike will want to chime in on this soon, starting June 1st, Google will end their free unlimited photo storage for Google Photos. It's an online to store online your pictures. Any pictures uploaded to Google Photos will count towards the free 15 gig storage it provides with your Google account. But that's not many pictures. Like about the only thing that I use Google photo storage for is I went around my house and took a bunch of pictures for insurance purposes, and I put it on my Google account just because I figured if I ever really needed it, I could find it pretty fast. And now it's time to share and enjoy. And to answer your questions, your question about that, when I first started my family project, I started working on this family photo book with my parents. About 10 years ago, when their health started to become questionable, I approached them about doing this project. And my dad had been doing a lot of the genealogy. So we knew quite a bit. And we knew that I knew that within a lot of the boxes that had come my way, that there were a lot of photos and photos that went back multiple generations. So my parents came up and sat behind me for a very long weekend, dictating to me about the different pictures and who was in them. And, you know, it was well worth it.
Mhm.
And then this is a photo book that I did for my nephew's wedding when he got married 7 years ago.
Nice.
And I just did his wife's family photos because they just had twin girls at the beginning of the year, and she wanted to make sure that organizing the family photos going forward were taken care of. So she got a forever account as well, and she uploads their weekly update pictures every week. And I did this handout for the 7 steps. You can either reach out to me at lisa@rescueyourphotos.com, and I can send it to you if you. Spike also has a copy of it he can send out. And also too, if you guys have any more questions or come across things, I do a free 20-minute consult about your project. So give me a call or go to the website and schedule an appointment.
I'd like to know if anyone has a good photo scanner that they're using that they can pass along.
I think almost any of the scanners now are really good. You don't need to, even like some of those cheap all-in-one printers have pretty good scanners. Wouldn't you say, Lisa?
Well,
Well,
but I don't think that would be good for photos because, I mean, I have a scanner. I have a big scanner that I've been using for large magazines, but that to me, that would be a pain. You'd have to lay out all your photos and then crop them and everything. It seems like the one that Lisa had where you can just feed in a photo and it just scans it.
Epson makes one, and it's on Amazon.
Okay.
You can
Again,
gang your photos too. You can put like 5, like 9 or 10 or like a grid of them and scan them all at one time.
Yeah, that's true. But I think
And they will crop them and separate them into separate images.
well, you have to go in and do that. It doesn't do
Yeah.
it on its own.
I scanned pages from an album with a lot of photos in there. And while I haven't tested it yet, there is software is said to be able to separate the individual photos on the page by itself automatically. So I'm just praying that works.
That's what we need is the software. I wouldn't
Well,
want
I will tell you, Epson makes a flatbed for about $250-ish. And it allows you to go in, and I don't know about software because to me that's something that I want to do before the photos made into digital, because I want to control, there goes the dog, I want to control the image size. I don't want to have 300 photos that I have 25% more value, circumference on it that I don't need to store. So what I do is I take my flatbed, and when I scan it in, I do what Spike was talking about. I go in and draw the box around the individual photos and then scan them in. And then those photos are only taking up X amount of storage space. They're taking up the amount of storage space they should.
What do you recommend for resolution? Because, I know with resolutions, length times width, so a 600 DPI is 4 times the resolution of 300 DPI, not twice as much. So
300
you have to be
DPI
really
is good if you're not planning on blowing up the photo. 600 is the best one to try to do it. Now it's going to make larger files, but 600 DPI is going to allow you to enlarge the photo. So plus some of the stuff, especially the older photo albums that I have, they used to make this thing, and I love this little thing. It was called the flip scanner. And you could actually take off the top of the flatbed and turn it over and put it directly on a photo album. But for some reason, they stopped making them last year. I don't know if they couldn't get the parts or the company just went out of business, but I love that little thing. Now, if you're scanning in slides, they recommend 2400 DPI. Again, if you really want to blow up an image with that, you may want to go up to 6400 DPI or 4800 DPI if the scanner has that capacity.
we want to see some of Lori's billboards.
Not showing them to you. Okay.
So
I've
Lisa,
been
what do you do
using-
about with digital? You can obviously put the same picture in more than one album, and you can even add tags and keywords. How do you manage that?
You mean, okay, tagging and key, okay, you asked about 3 questions in one.
All right. Well, all right. So I wanted to make
And
sure.
at
we got all of
8:15,
that.
it seemed like 6 questions into one, but
Keywords.
I do that directly when I'm
Mm.
inputting them. I use something called Photo Mechanics so that I go in and rename all the photos.
Is that a Mac thing?
Yeah, but I think they also have a PC base of it, but I don't know what it is.
Photo mechanics.
I've been, whoops. Spike, can you unmute me?
You're on.
I hear ya.
You're fine, Jim.
I've been using a little Wolverine F2D to do the slide scanning. You can do slides or film strips. You can use negative film strip and make it positive, or negatives and make them positives.
Photo mechanics.
For
Black and
photos-
white.
For photos too?
No, just slides. Only transparencies.
Okay.
My only advice to that is make sure that you're scanning at a healthy DP dots per inch. Because the thing that I found that when my dad was scanning stuff in, he scanned everything in so low res, I can't do much with stuff. It's, I can see it on my computer, but I don't even think I can get anybody to print it out. That, there's not much to see.
I should print a few then and check them.
Yes. Or when you go to scan it in, it should ask you what DPI you want to scan it in at.
I really haven't paid any attention to that.
Well, that's why I'm saying pay attention to it, because it's very important. I mean, it's great that you're doing all the work. You just need to make sure it's going to count.
Right.
2 questions.
Yes, sir.
All the little storage chips, is there any way to file those so you don't have to put them in and look and open them up to see what's on them? Anybody have a photo album for those?
Spike.
I wouldn't keep those. I would just use them to transfer onto a hard drive or a computer. Yeah, I would not keep them at all.
Well, wait a minute. Are you talking about okay, do you still have the camera that those photo cards fit in?
No.
You
but
don't?
you know, well, sure. I mean, a cell phone camera has the chip inside,
So what did
but
you, once you took the pictures and you took the card out of the cell phone, then you put it in your computer and you transfer the stuff into your computer.
right.
And
And
then
once they're in the computer,
get rid of the,
you can store them on a little drive, a stick drive.
Right, thumb drive.
flash drive.
Thumb drive.
Keep in mind, flash drives don't last that long. They can
They
be,
don't hold very much either.
Yeah,
Those
they
are
don't
very
hold
unreliable.
Yeah, I was surprised the other day I grabbed out because a lot of times if I'm working on a project during the day, sometimes I'll just back it up at the end of the day, just, if I was doing a design of something or whatever. And the other day I had to go through 3 of them that for some reason they just all all at once.
Those aren't big enough to be useful, Jim.
right. I'd
Yeah.
say just use them
Even
as
a 30
transfer. Use them for transfer and that's it.
Right, exactly.
I would not use them as long-term storage at all.
They're too vulnerable.
Right.
I mean, first of all, you could step on them and that's going to do it,
Or you very easily lose them.
Yes.
Flip them somewhere.
That's my point. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Use them as short-term, just to transfer from one place to another, and then use them again.
Like for some reason I keep one in my wallet. I don't know why, but I do. It came in handy one time. I went to a bridal shower and they were like, "Who's got this in their purse?" And they're like, "Jump drive." And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." Actually. But just in case I ever need it, it's there. I haven't even tested it lately. I may have stored too many quarters in there and it doesn't work anymore.
So if you've done all your scanning and you have them now on 3 backups, when do you actually trash all your old slides that you don't have a projector for?
We got rid of ours as my mom was scanning all of the slides. Every time we took the little card out of the machine and transferred them over to the computer, we tossed out the slides. Now, Arnie's doing something a little different because he's doing something for his dad's art and he's keeping his for artistic purposes. But if that's all you're doing is just trying to get them off onto a computer, then you can toss them. You don't need them.
I would wait to, like, I've got a bin and a big garbage can downstairs because I have finally, man, nobody better show up at my house with any more photos. I have finally finished sorting the print and the slides.
Good.
And the only negatives are left are ones from when I was a photographer out of college, and I've even edited those down from like 15 notebooks down to 2. I can't. You could go onto Pinterest and it'll give you a bunch of ideas. I've seen curtains made out of slides, lampshades made out of slides. If you just can't throw it away, we could find something for you to do.
So Walker has a question.
Yes. Apple charges 99 cents a month, I think it is, for storage. Earlier, you mentioned Google, there is risk of your photo being on a bus. What's the risk with Apple storage?
Spike, you want to address that one?
I mean, Apple is selling privacy. That's what they advertise. So yes, they don't even have they don't have rights to your images. I'm not even sure they can see them.
Okay, good.
It's not a bad
I believe they're
option.
encrypted. And I think they're encrypted in transit.
No, you can always encrypt your files that you upload with some encryption software.
True.
I like I said, I went with Forever because I liked what they were selling. I mean, I just felt like it was, I could drive into my own storage unit and I knew it was mine and I could pass the keys down. That's why I went with that.
Is that the one you said is still around?
Yes, Forever is still around.
Okay.
Forever, yes, is still around.
Okay, good. That's a good thing. Yeah, that would be really bad if Forever was not around anymore.
Well, and the thing is though too, I'm an ambassador for Forever. That's just how it happened. But but I have my stuff there, and Spike will tell you, I'm pig-headed. Something's gonna make sense to me, and I need to make sure that I'm comfortable with the decision before I do anything.
Mhm.
And I looked around and I just thought, okay, this is where I want to go. You know, I like the opportunity that I can send emails to all my family and we can share it. But that's just my
Another
decision.
question, if you, I don't remember what you said, or if you said it, if you need to write a little a caption that might be a little longer than you can put in the file name, how did you do that?
That you have to go into the photo and it's called the metadata. And there are different programs. You can do it in Photoshop, you can do it in Photo Mechanic, you can do it in Bridge. I mean, there's different programs that allow you to put that's referred to as metadata. And what you do is you open up the photo info and then write down what you want in there. And that's a problem too, because sometimes you'll spend all that time going in there and putting a story in there, and some platforms don't transfer over the metadata. So you've done all that work and then it's nothing there. Now, for me right now, I'm just going through and labeling who's who on my thing. Now, if I'm doing a big scan and I've got 300 photos of my nephew when he was little, 1 to 3, and I'm scanning all of those in there, I make sure that as I'm scanning it on my scanner that I put a .001 and it continues on that, because you don't want to override anything. That's important when you're working on your digital, that if it says, do you want to replace something, you need to not do that and step back and make sure what you're doing is what you want to override.
Lisa, I think I'd like to go ahead and wrap up. We can
Okay.
do the breakout rooms, and so if you want to stick around, people can ask you more questions. But I don't want you to get grilled all night. I feel like you're underneath like a hot lamp or something like
I
that.
am underneath a hot lamp. I'm underneath my sad light.
So
Thank you, Lisa. It was a great
That was really-
presentation. Yes.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, we have to go. So
That's okay.
take care.
Well, I'm on Rescue. Take a look at the website and reach out to me if you've got questions.
Will do.
thank you very much.